Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to catch the show live, interact with the comments and things like that. But today we are going to dive into our Linux news. The first is MALIBAL boycotts the core boot project, and I will add a subnote. It just goes completely insane. As you may know or remember, a couple years ago, was it last year or the year before? I forget. I think it was last year. MALIBAL was a very short sponsor for the channel that they did not even complete their contract through the term. They kind of went insane. And that's why I kind of stopped, although the specific details I have not released. Now, if you do want to see a fine detail and a beautiful analysis of this whole article, Brody Robinson's video this week was epic. I looked at it, I'm like, I knew he was doing it. I was like, a 40-minute video on MALIBAL? I'm just not sure I'm into this. It was the most fascinating and entertaining 40 minutes I've spent, so it is definitely worth it. But I'll give you the summaries here, and you can jump on over and have a look at his video for more details. But MALIBAL is a computer reseller. They sell sort of higher-end computers that are effectively unbranded, and then they add their own branding to them and then ship them out. So they wanted to do core boot because that's what all the cool cats are doing, and but they couldn't figure it out because they have a single developer who I'm not sure how good of a developer he is. They do subcontract people in for other projects and things like that. But they tried to get this working and they couldn't get it working, and then sought out for help. First they sought out, hey, can you get this working? And they quoted them a cost that was too high for them. And they're like, well, we'll just do it ourselves. And then like they to try to do it themselves and ran into multiple problems and go back to the same guy and like, hey, now we just need you to debug things. You see, I've been working as a freelance contractor for a long time that when I offer somebody a price and they decide to do it again and they come back to me, the price is double, not half. I don't count what you do. This was a funny case once where I was working with a client and they had a good contact reference, and a guy I was working with a lot, he comes to me and is like, I need to build this site. And I'm like, well, it'd be $750. And he's like, well, you know, I saw Wix. We'll do it on Wix. What do we on Wix? I was like, I'm not building it on Wix. Wix is a garbage platform. He's like, well, I think I could do it on Wix. So he tries back with Wix. He comes back 2 weeks later with an abomination that nothing works right, nothing looks right. Now, part of that's because Wix is an abomination in and of itself. However, beyond that, he didn't no idea what he was doing. So, he's like, well, how much to fix this? I said $1,500. I'm not messing with that abomination either. Okay. So that's kind of where MALIBAL fell into case. Now, if things ended there, like the guy said, yeah, I'm just not really into this. Like I can't do it. Well, what ended up happening is the guy said, well, I need to see your code. Let me look at the code. Let me get back to you and things like this. I only have a certain number of hours a week because of other projects. And then the guy ended up getting a project, like a heavier duty load for his regular job. You know, like I want to do real work, you know, get paid for my day job so I can support my hobby or my side gig. And so this caused him to not have the time to work on it for several weeks. And then MALIBAL goes insane. And because of MALIBAL going insane, this isn't all of it. There's actually a further update. Because that developer, I think, was in Germany. So let's see. Following some back and forth, MALIBAL decided to move away from the 9 elements and ban Germany. So they will no longer ship MALIBAL computers to Germany. So they moved to another consultant, 3M, based out of Poland. They encountered similar issues and delays. So now they've basically banned Poland. So they're not going to ship anything to Poland. And then they raised their complaints with core boot leadership to see if they could help them out. They had a conversation with Dave Hendricks, who reported that their leadership cannot dictate terms of core boot consultants. So MALIBAL got into a conversation with another member of core boot team, Matt DeVeiler, who works for AMD and is based out of Texas. After some back and forth, they agreed to work together. This is the one that kind of went south. And so MALIBAL has banned shipping computers to Texas for life. Another person came in, I think it was from System 76, so they banned Colorado for life. And so MALIBAL just keeps on banning all of these countries that they're going to ship computers to for simply not wanting or being able to fix their buggy code. And so Brody Robinson says, well, I'm going to do this video and hopefully get MALIBAL computers banned out of Australia. So if everybody wants to come up and say something, then maybe we can just get them to the point where they'll just willingly sit down with their stockpile and go, oh, we're not shipping computers anywhere because we have grudges. So I gotta say, the Linux computer they sent me as a demo model to look at was very good. But again, it is a resale computer, so you can probably buy that exact computer other places. Because of the drama, I might recommend doing that. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see this case. It's very, very fascinating. But moving on, Linus Torvalds is frustrated by Buggy Hardware. So what's going on here is there's a lot of progressive movement in hardware chips, of course. And this is specifically dealing with some CPUs, specifically Intel CPUs. But there is some speculation, some theory that there is one particular bug that could be prominent or prevalent in the system. And they're basically passing the mitigation of a potential theoretical hardware bug onto Linus and the kernel developers team. And Linus is like, there's no instance of this being used. We don't really know. And the two mitigating steps we need to do are, in his words, overkill and painfully slow. And what he's asking is, why are we taking this push so hard to mitigate theoretical issues when the hardware people could actually resolve the situation themselves? And so it's kind of a fight between the hardware guys and Linus with the software guys trying to figure out how to make everything work well without introducing vulnerabilities. And then this raises the question, do we mitigate things that are theoretically possible when we haven't even seen them practically used? And that really is the point of the questions. In other words, if we have to mitigate every potential issue here, then it's possible that it will delay the kernel and the code, and those chips will not have the support they need. And then, of course, if Linus is doing this in the open, what in the world is Microsoft doing in the darkness? And that raises more questions. So he comes out with a classic Torvalds-style message. Honestly, I'm pretty damn fed up with the Buggy Hardware and completely theoretical attacks that have never actually been shown themselves to be used in practice. I think this is the time we push back on the hardware people and tell them it's their damn problem. If they can't even be bothered to say yay or nay, then we just sit tight. Because, damn it, let's put the onus on where the blame lies and not just take random crap from bad hardware and say, oh, but it might be a problem. Another engineer, Intel Lam CPUs, Intel engineer, is it Krill Should've I think I got that right. He said it brings its own speculation issues. It's going to be addressed by LAS. This is a patch. There was a patch to disable LAM until LAS landed, but it never got applied for some reason. Very interesting. So basically, there's some issues with the hardware, and it's causing some issues with the software movement, and that's what Linus is getting mad about. All right, everybody who likes music players, we got a non-release candidate version of Clementine, the first time in 8 years. Now, in that 8-year span, there have been a number of release candidates, so it's not like no development has been done, and all of a sudden a necromancer came from above and resurrected the Clement team, and all of a sudden, or the Clementine team, and all of a sudden, wow, we have a new release. Now, they've been slowly working, but then they released a new update, which actually has a lot of, just a lot of positive movement. The problem is they did it at the time the article was written with absolutely no discussion, posts. Their social media was quiet about it. Everything was quiet about it. It's just all of a sudden a non-release candidate build version 1.4.1 was suddenly released. Very interesting. They say down here at OMG Ubuntu, no official announcement so far has been made, no official changelog or summary of the new features. Neither the Clementine website or social media accounts have been updated to refer to the release. Now, this article is, it was updated Tuesday. So this article is close to a week old. I do not know if they've updated it. I didn't actually check today. But they did actually remove some depreciated web service integrations. They did the block analyzer rewritten to improve performance. They updated the Wikipedia plugin. And then a search filter they added to the playlist page. Icon sidebar is now scrollable. And the sidebar can now be hidden via settings in a tools menu, and library now defaults to album and artist. And there's a port to Qt5. So that was good. This is back on Qt4 still. Isn't Qt6 progressing? I can't remember. So, I don't follow the software development that closely. But hey, that's pretty cool. You can, on Ubuntu, you can install the deb installer from the Clementine GitHub release page. There's debs for 2004, 2204, 2404 are being the assets label. I didn't see a 2410 or not. But, just use probably 2404 should probably work. And now on to the story that most of you are probably here for is what is going on with the Russian developers in the kernel. So the biggest problem here is the lack of communication, we should say. And so several Linux kernel driver maintainers were removed because of their association with Russia. Now, this is not just, hey, you're a Russian, get out of here. This is the kernel development team having, because it is based and supported in the United States, having to align themselves with the United States and the United States law, and there are sanctions on Russia. Now, it's not just universally Russia. There is a specific active list of banned companies. So if a person works with or is associated with a company on that particular list, then they cannot work on the kernel project because the kernel project is housed in the United States and these sanctions apply. And so effectively what they did is they went through the list of everybody that had affiliations or associations with any of the companies on the sanctions list, and those were dropped from the roster of maintainers. Now, that does not mean that they cannot submit code. They just can't submit code through that direct means. So they're not official maintainers, although they can still help with things in generally unofficial capacities. So this is not going to cause a major split in Linux. They're not going to fork it out or anything like that. But they're just complying with the law, and once the sanctions are lifted, then guaranteed they will be able to come back. And some of them say, we kind of understand, and we will accept what it is for now in light of the crazy world circumstances. And maybe if we stop promulgating war in that region, things might stop. But okay, I don't want to get any more. I'm just an American over here, so. Anyway, Linus did respond. His effective response is, hey, Russian trolls, stop. It's not about you and the fact that you're from Russia, blah, blah, blah. It has to do with the fact that the Linux kernel dev team must comply with U.S. law regarding sanctions on a specific list of individual organizations that are sanctioned by the United States. So that's what it boils down to. And the biggest problem in all of this is that the compliance requirements were not clearly communicated on the front. If they came out on the front end and said, hey, there is a list of companies that we just cannot work with because of United States sanctions, and we are delisting a number of Russian Linux maintainers to comply with U.S. law, and then they did that and maybe even informed the people of that, that would probably be an infinitely better way to go. But, you got to realize that these are all Linux devs. Most of them have Asperger's or something like it, and people skills are not high on their list of priorities. So you can understand why they did what they did and how they did it, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's just a matter of fact. Don't look at Linux kernel developers and look at the people and go, this is a group of people. Okay. So yeah, they miscommunicated it, and that was the case. So this is not nearly as big of a deal as people say it is, but it has to do with complying with the US OF ACSDN list, which is subject to sanctions. So if a person is affiliated with a company on that list, they cannot be in the maintainers file. Okay, they can query the list. Anybody can query the list. They say here, if in your specific case, the problem is your employer is on that list. If there's been a mistake and your employer isn't on the list, that's the documentation Greg is looking for. And Leslie, thank you for your past contributions. And if you or anyone else like to like an entry in the credit file, I'm happy to shepherd it for you. Send me what you like. And effectively, this has to do with the sanctions. So if the sanctions are eventually lifted, there's nothing that prevents these people from coming back. And that's probably the best thing that could happen in the end of things. So that is what is up with this. I know there hasn't been a lot of communication about it, but that really is what it boils down to. It's not a major deal, and those people can still do some work. They just can't do the work in as official capacity as they may have in the past. But with that, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. You can have a look over there. Of course, that'll get you access to joining us either on the stream or in the after show on Thursday nights. And also, if you are a member over here at $5 and up, you can download the new audiobook or ebook version of the new Code Red book. You can download those for free. Anybody else that's a free or a $1 tier, those are available for sale. Although I am probably going to give some coupon codes out once I figure out where all the links are and everything like that and what I can do and what I can't do. I'll go ahead and send those out on the platform as well. So with that, patreon.com/TOMM. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.